In essence, we are our stories. Every story that we have lived impacts and influences how we behave and how we move forward. Some of those stories that have happened to us become positive, defining, and sustaining stories. They let us see our value, our skills, and support us as we take risks and challenge ourselves to grow and move forward. But unfortunately, many of those stories that happened early in our life also become constraining stories. They were there for a positive purpose in the beginning to protect us, to keep us safe, but we're still stuck back in that place of safety, and it constrains us from growing and moving forward into our full potential of who we can be. Those are the stories that we need to reinflate, to challenge enough that we don't have to stay stuck in them. So there's an experience from my own life that illustrates this just a bit. When I was 8 years old, it was Christmas Eve. We were in church, and I was a big-spirited child. And Christmas Eve, I was in my element. We were singing all of my favorite carols, and as the evening unfolded, my voice got bigger and louder as my spirit was filling that church. And by the end, when I was working myself up into a crescendo, my father had had enough, and he just slipped his hand over my mouth to help me to quiet down. That became a defining moment for me. I sat down in the pew, humiliated, afraid that my behavior had embarrassed not only myself, but my family. I felt that everyone could see. That story became a thin story, a constraining story, but a very deep and powerful story. So as I began to generalize that story, I found that when I started to get excited or share my words, my joy, that I worried I was getting too big too much, and I would pull it in to the point where I stopped speaking up in school. I definitely stopped singing in public. I became very self-conscious of myself as a public figure. That story became so much of me that it limited who I could become. But always there was this internal piece that was pushing against it, and it was holding me back. When we're stuck in a thin story, one of the ways forward is to walk around that, to hear alternative outcome stories, to hear input from others who see different aspects of ourselves and allow those stories in. You can't take a thin story away, but you can inflate it. And you do that by attaching it to other stories that have gone differently, that show a different perspective of you and who you are. So over the years, as that internal push to have parts of me expressed that no longer were, and to challenge in very small ways, but to get some positive seeing from others that we want more, this is good, this is who you are, I managed not only to stretch that story, but to step back into who I was, to take risks that allowed me to, in fact, become a public speaker, a storyteller, a teacher, to trust that what I had to share was not only wanted, but could be helpful, could be good.